Hello, wonderful people. Have you ever felt like you were apologizing for simply taking up space? Like your needs were a burden and your feelings were just too much? If you grew up in a house where your presence was noted but your heart was ignored, you weren't difficult. You were emotionally neglected. Today we're going to use the principles of A Course in Miracles to heal the 5 wounds that neglect left behind and remember the truth of who you really are. And hi, if you're new here, I'm Cahir. I'm here to take you one step closer to self-love. All right, and this video was inspired by 5 wounds from emotional neglect by therapy. The point I'm going to put in the description. Um, I feel really inspired to just talk about it, give my perspective of what happened to me, and also give the spiritual lens to start healing it for you guys. All right, so the first wound we're going to talk about is number one was feeling unworthy of love. And to be honest, guys, and reasons why I keep making these videos because I still deal with these challenges, right? I'm like 10 times better than I was in the past. But I actually recently had a dream. I saw one of my high school friends and we were, I don't know, like in some like arena or something, watching something, and then this wave of emotion, like I just felt like I'm unworthy of love. Like literally I had like it was in the dream, like I'm so unworthy of love. And this is like the core wound when it comes to emotional neglect, that we just feel like unlovable. And, I'm speaking from experience. It fucking sucks. you know, it and video talks about that love feels like something you have to earn. You have to be easy, you have to be happy, you have to be helpful. This is where all the people pleasing, came from because I felt like, I had to, well, you had to make your caretakers happy in order to survive. Even that means bending over backwards or being inauthentic. And that you learn that, and I learned that, and I practiced that for 30 years, right? So it's not my true self. It's a very big practice self that I'm still working on to realize what the Course in Miracles says, right? I am as God created me. Right? I am as perfect as God created me. Right? Our internal worth was already decided, right? From creation, infinite intelligence, infinite love. That we don't have to perform to get love, because you can see how messy it can get for you guys, how it got messy for me. And this is, I think, also connected to attachment styles, if you're familiar with it. So I got the worst attachment style. I was disorganized attachment style. Because with my house, I had no idea when I would get praised, when I would get vitriol. Because sometimes, I'll get vitriol for pretty much no reason or for a small mistake, like using the wrong towel or something. So for me, it was just more about being as small as possible, not asking for much, um, not being too loud, just suppressing your needs so you don't get noticed. And that was my survival mechanism. So that really sucks. Oh man. All right, let's go to wound number two here. The inability to trust your emotions, and this was fundamental for me. Um, for me, what was growing up, I told you guys, I was told like so much, like, oh, you're too sensitive, you're too sensitive, calm down. I could call you names whatever I want, but you're too sensitive. Like this blatant insults, like this is coming up right now. Like this doesn't really happen to me, but my brother's Zadkiel, like Tata was looking for something in the car, and Zadkiel couldn't find it, and then Tata found it right away, and was like, "If it was a candy bar, you'd find it." Oh my god, like emotional put downs, and if you said something like that, or like when my mom would comment on my weight, and like "Brzunia rośnie," like your belly's getting bigger, and I got upset, and she's like, "Oh, you're too sensitive." I'm like, how about we don't insult each other, man? It's so simple, but do we do it? Um, but this constant stuff, like you're too sensitive. Also, it was really weird. Um, like so I talked about marching band. I had a whole video about it, right? That I did it, but I didn't really like it. Like I hated it. Um, and at the end of like uh, uh, my time there, like you could buy like a whole picture of the group, and I didn't know it cost like a lot of money. But it was, at that time, it was like 50, $60 for a picture of the whole marching band. And I don't know why I ordered it. I just thought you had to order it. I think that was going from my mind. I didn't like consciously say yeah. I just thought you had to. I don't know. It's been so long, but anyway, I ordered it, and Mama even got it framed and everything. But every time I looked at it, I got so angry and just like I just I threw it away. And then when she found out, it's like, "What did you do? You threw it away? You liked the marching band. You liked it." I'm like, when did I ever say I liked it? It's just I really wish like because we only had like one conversation. She said, "It's like, hey, are you sure you want to do this?" And I just had my I don't know my bullshit belief like I started it, but I gotta finish it. But what if she like I don't know. It was like, how do you really feel, Kahir? Do you really like this? Nothing like that. And for me, what also brought the inability to trust my emotions because like my emotions did like dictate my life because when I get in very low states like apathy of toxic shame and I had my negative coping mechanisms of just like disassociating and then I'll toxic shame myself for dissociating, disassociating. It got really bad, and I'm like, oh, I can't trust myself. I always have to, discipline myself. Which I think at that time of my life, discipline was good because discipline is way better than apathy, but it's still like a fear-based concept, right? That you're pushing yourself to do something, or else something bad happens, right? So, yeah. All right. All right. Next, we have wound number 3: hyper independence. All right. So a defense mechanism we learned not to rely on anyone because no one was ever there. And this is something I'm also just like really thinking about in my life that there are people out there that can just call their parents and like say like, "Hey, I'm having a hard time. Like, can we help me?" I really think like I think like I asked my dad for help for homework like once in my life, once. And and I think it's kind of the stereotype you have like of American parents that they help their children with the homework, or not just with homework, but just like um, even I watched this podcast called the necessary conversation, and the it's also the host and his sister came from a dysfunctional family, but even then, their dad, who was like verbally and physically abusive, like he like showed up all to their baseball games, was like very attuned in that way. Not saying he was a good guy or anything like that, but um okay, I don't know where I'm going with that, but just still like, um, and I remember like constantly asking my parents like when I was a child, like, hey, can you help me with this? And especially my mom, she'd be like, nie zawracaj moją głową, nie zawracaj moją głową, which means like, don't bother me, don't bother me, don't bother me. So I was like, oh, okay, I just had to do everything myself, I guess, and that's why for me, it took a long time to ask for help, especially with this mental health thing. Like I was, like, I think, like I said, 29 until I did Healthy Gamer. Like, of course, I experimented with CBT and like hypnotherapy, but like I getting like I would say more the closest thing to therapy, 29, right? Because I'm like I don't know, I have to figure out everything by myself. I don't know. Um, I guess there's some for me. There's some like a glory about like finding out on your own. But now I see the benefit of just, you know, like someone's already done the thing you want. Like when I started working with a personal trainer, like giving me a workout plan and stuff, that's when I saw my actual results because I asked for help. I'm like, hey, I don't know exactly what I'm doing. Maybe I need to look for help. And there's no shame in it, right? But in my head, it's like, no, 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 you gotta figure out on your own. This all this unconscious stuff I learned from childhood. But this is the thing, like I said, I keep going back to Death Stranding, right? We'll get some footage there eventually, but you build bridges for other players, and the player uses a bridge. That's you're helping each other out, man. And this is also the purpose of the video, right? I think you guys can tell by my energy, my voice. Like I've experienced the lowest of the lows, the apathy, the shames, right? And I'm out of it. And I still have my moments, of course, but like it's way better. And that's why I want to help you guys, right? So there's no shame asking for help. There is no shame, right? If you if you're you know, on the edge of getting therapy, I highly recommend Healthy Gamer. Just do it, guys. All right. And let's remember in the Course of Miracles, right? In my defenselessness, my safety lies, right? So independence is often just a wall, right? True strength is allowing yourself to be part of the sonship, right? The community and God, right? That we're all in this together, guys. We're all on this journey of life together. So there's nothing wrong with asking for help. All right. Great stuff, guys. All right. And this is the number 4 here, chronic guilt for having needs. All right. And this is actually kind of insane for me because like I said, I didn't know I had needs until as a alpha gamer, basically. Like okay, I knew like I had to eat, but I didn't know my needs, like my needs for rest, my needs to feel fulfilled, like looking out for Kahir. That was it's tough to say, but I know there's so many of my brothers and sisters out there that just don't care about themselves enough. They don't take care of themselves enough because I was one of those guys, right? I thought I led a relatively normal life. I'm like, man, you're not taking care of your true needs, man, because, right? I always felt like it was a burden. I was being, selfish for asking for what I want. Like asking my parents, just, hey, stop yelling at me, stop being disrespectful, stop calling me a Yopa, you know, the dork monkey, very low self worth, right? And we have such low self worth. You stop fighting for yourself, man. And that's the thing. It's not really about fighting, just asking. But it just felt so weird, just to look out for your needs. Like, hey, I need this stuff, man. All right. Let's go for Course in Miracles. Right. God's will for me is perfect happiness. Right. I'm going to say it again, God's will for me is perfect happiness. And I know this is like, especially where I grew up with like, Catholicism and all that. It's just like trusting that your highest excitement, that where this infinite energy is leading to you, that's where perfect happiness is. Like for me, it's making these videos mix nuts. Right? That is perfect happiness. And that will fulfill all your needs. And I see my needs are being more and more met, especially when I'm more aware of them. Like even for me, like a need to relax, which is like gaming. Because like when I don't give myself that time to fully relax, play some games or watch a movie, I do get like, I'm not at my peak performance, right? So it's also like looking out for yourself in that way as well. And the thing about feeling guilty for needs, like I think a lot of guys have this, especially like disempowered men, that we say sorry so fucking much. We're like, sorry, cop, in this Elysium. And literally, when I played that game for the first time, I said sorry all the time. And but I said sorry all the time in real life as well. Like even for stuff like in the book what Pete Walker talks about from surviving the thriving with CPTSD, he said he would say sorry if he hit a wall or something like an inanimate object. And I did the same stuff. I would be like saying sorry all the time. I was like, it was just like on autopilot. You've seen, I think there's from a like, stop saying sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. It was that like egregious amount. Now I'm being very conscious of when do I say sorry? Did I actually do something wrong? Right? Because growing up, it's just like I felt like I was doing something wrong all the time, right? So it's just encoded in me. You gotta say sorry. You're always sinning, right? Sucks, man. But it's not the truth. It's not the truth. So be very conscious when you say sorry and be very conscious of your needs. Yes, you have needs, guys. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. All right. Good. Let's go to last one. Wound number 5. Struggling to know who you are. Oh my gosh. Right. And I struggled with just being a chameleon. Right? I had no idea who this Cahir guy was. I know he could be funny. I knew he liked acting, he liked games. But based on the environment, I would be able to switch my personality, sometimes to greater effect. Like, and it's like this. What's coming up in my mind is a very kind of a silly example, but there's this kid Ryan in my middle school. He just did not like me, and he was just kind of this wannabe gangster, very tall, like threatening. Um, and I know he liked rap, and there's this car that was, I don't know, it. I don't remember, like this car went by and we were like in recess or whatever. I don't remember. It just like made like a wheel sound. I'm like, oh, it sounds like a rap song, huh? Na-na-na-na, na-na-na-na. And he's like, Yeah, you ever listen to rap, huh? Just another reason to make fun of me. Like I only said that because I wanted to get in his good graces for some reason, right? Because that's another thing. I wanted to be liked by everybody, and that, well, you can see how detrimental that was because I didn't know who I was, and I think I was, um, ashamed, I guess, like of, I'm a geek now. Thank God it's like more acceptable, but back then, growing up, we tell someone who played Kingdom Hearts, "Ooh, what a geek!" You played Yu-Gi-Oh, what a geek, what a nerd. I was just feeling like exiled, man. Um, but yeah, and also this deep part of me, like my spirituality, like A Course in Miracles, was never, you know, it wasn't nurtured. That's for sure. Like I had to listen to Abraham Hicks like in secret because my anything outside of Orthodox, my parents thought it was like a cult or something. Well, my mom, and that's the thing. Like I feel like my mom was more interested in my life than my dad. But I think that's topic for another time. All right. Um, and the thing is, what I realized there was like all these expectations of people, like but of course, like majority of my parents, right? Parents, society, and I had this mask on, and the only time I felt the true self, who I really was, when I did improv comedy. When I was on stage, I felt like infinite intelligence thrown through me and cracking those great jokes, making people laugh. That's like, and I was kind of a different person. No, I was a different person. I was loud. I was confident. I was funny. I was charismatic. You know, it was still there. What's the difference between Cahir on the stage, Cahir off stage? Off stage Cahir was the traumatized self, right? And identified really strongly with the traumatized self. Like, oh, I can't do this. I'm not confident. You know, I'm shy. I speak softly. All this stuff, guys. All this stuff, right? And it wasn't until, like I said, I meditated. I did all the workbook lessons, Course in Miracles, and then Healthy Gamer, that the clouds went away, and I got to say, yeah, I'm a paladin, man. That's my archetype. I'm a paladin. I'm super spiritual, super loving, unshakable idealist. That's who I am. What the Course in Miracles says. I am the light of the world. All right, you don't have to find yourself. You just have to let go of the mask you built to survive. Mm, you know, like I like stop living for others. Like we can be of service to others, which is great, but stop living your life for others. That's a whole different story, right? When I went to university just to make my parents happy, and then even then that wasn't enough for them. Those big, I know wherever you're in life, it's harder to make those decisions. Like for me, like if someone to tell me you don't have to study university just because your parents want to. Like what? No. Yeah. But just remember, like if you're anything like me, the mask is a mask. But who you are is what's underneath that mask, man. Very cool. All right. And before we end this video, I just want to offer a prayer. All right. Let's close our eyes and take a deep breath, moving from the head to the heart. Holy Spirit, we hand over the years of silence, the moments we felt invisible, and the heavy armor of independence we've worn for so long. We recognize that these wounds are not our identity, they are simply the shadows where we forgot we were loved. Help us to see ourselves through your eyes, replace our guilt with your peace, replace our self doubt with your certainty, and replace our feeling of being too much with the quiet realization that we are exactly as God created us to be, whole, safe, and eternally seen. I release the need to perform. I release the need to hide. I accept the miracle of my own worthiness. I am home in you. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed that video. Please subscribe if you haven't already. May the Holy Spirit light up your path wherever it takes you. All right, take care.